your WWF days, you're at the top of your sport, you're there, and talk a little bit about how it kind of falls apart and you end up leaving the company, or what leads to you leaving the company.
It was kind of not, there's a lot of fuzziness at that time because by then I was drinking a lot.
Was it evident from the office that it had become a problem?
I was talked to a couple of times.
Okay.
I didn't fail any drug tests or anything like that because, like I said, I never did drugs.
But your behavior.
I had prescriptions. My behavior, yeah, I was talked to a couple of times. Not you're going to get fired or anything like that, but they're like tone it down.
By Vince or just office?
No, just general, like Jim Ross usually because he was my supervisor.
Okay.
Jim Ross was my go-to.
Okay.
So like he was the one who wrote my expense checks. I submitted all my receipts to him. So he was my immediate supervisor. He talked to me a couple of times, but at that point my head was so friggin' big. I was like, this, I can do what I want.
I was going to what was your, like, you talk about Sean's ego. What was your ego like?
Oh, it was out of control. I'll be the first one to admit it.
Right.
It was out of control. Like when I look back, I didn't like myself. You know what I mean? I'm like, how could I have been that? Oh my God. Does
this go hand in hand with the business? Because it seems even, I mean, you are top of your game, but even as it trickles down, the ego seemed to be there for every performer.
Everybody has an ego. I mean, how can you not?
Right.
You know, you're on worldwide television, you know, being watched by millions of people. How can you not have an ego?
Right.
I think everybody has an ego.
It's understandable.
But mine was out of control. So even when people were like, hey, you should tone it down, you might get into trouble, I was like, I can do what I want. Rules don't apply to me.
Right. And
they
hadn't.
They didn't. So it got to the point where I was tired of hearing all that crap. I was tired of hearing behave myself and tone it down and all that stuff. And I was like, whatever. And that's when ECW came along because basically Vince loaned me out to ECW for a couple pay-per-views and a couple shows and stuff like that. I was on loan. And then Paul Heyman got in my ear, which I don't even want to go into because I'll probably vomit if I talk about him too much. But you can read it in my book. But
there's legitimate heat.
He did horrible things to me and Chris. Okay. Horrible. So he got in my ear and convinced me that I would have a much better time in ECW. I would get paid. He actually promised me more money than I was getting paid, which I was getting at first. Just, you know, all these promises. So that's when I made an appearance on a ECW pay-per-view. And at the end
was that sanctioned by WWE?
They loaned me out.
Okay, so you were there.
But at the end of the match, me with my ego, I get on the microphone and I say ECW is my new home. The place erupts, everybody's happy. The next morning I had a fax at home with my release.
Wow.
Because I did that on pay-per-view.
Wow. And so that was a total shoot off the top. That was you being
that was me being like, fuck it.
Okay, now is there immediate regrets after that?
No, not immediate,
No.
Because ECW was great. I was getting more money. I had merchandise because we did t-shirts. I had a lot more creative control. Do you remember the pay-per-view, the main event? I don't remember what the name of the pay-per-view was, maybe November to Remember or something. Terry Funk and Tommy Dreamer was the main event. I was running headset in the back for the whole pay-per-view. So basically, I was timing out the whole pay-per-view, giving cues to the ref for every single match. So it's down to the main event. I'm on the monitor. I've got the headset. I've got the timer, and we're down. It's like
Were you wearing Paul's jacket too?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you were.
Was I?
Yeah.
So I'm on headset and I'm giving cues out to the ref. I'm like, we got 5 minutes until we go to black. 5 minutes till we go to black. And with a pay-per-view, as soon as your time is up on pay-per-view, it cuts to black, whether you're done what you're filming or not.
Right.
So I'm like freaking out. I'm like, these guys, they got to go home at the right time. So I see them starting the finish. It's like a 10-minute long finish. So I'm watching. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, 4 minutes left, ref, 4 minutes left. Tell them to go home. Tell them to take it home. And they're still going on. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fuck up this whole pay-per-view. And we get down to the last 30 seconds. And I'm like, 30 seconds. I'm screaming, tell them to go home. Take it home. So finally they start going home like, okay, this might be on time. And I'm watching the clock and it's like ticking down. We're almost going to black. And then out of nowhere, I forget what the exact finish was, but I do remember at the very end, Terry Funk is on the floor and he raises his arm and leans back into the fans, and that's when we went to black. It was the timing couldn't have been better.
Right.
And I was just like so proud of myself. I'm like, I just timed out this pay-per-view like perfectly. We ended on the perfect note, Terry Funk like this, leaning back into fans, go to black. It was perfect. And it was all me. Nobody knows I did that.
Well, now they do.
Now they do. But I'm good at that stuff. I can do production. I really can. But yeah, I timed out that whole damn thing. It was so much fun. I love doing that kind of stuff.
Did you feel liberated being in this setting?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Paul let me do a lot of that stuff. That's why I was kind of happy going there and leaving what I was doing. Because at the time with WWF, basically all I was doing anymore was modeling Undertaker t-shirts.
right.
I'm walking out on the stage in an Undertaker or a Stone Cold t-shirt and waving and going back. And I would bitch and I'm like, if you're going to make me model t-shirts, at least let me model my own so I get the sales.
Right.
Why am I helping Undertaker get sales because I'm modeling his t-shirt? So I was complaining about that. But that's like all I was doing and I was bored out of my mind.